Hey guys, welcome back. Hope everybody had a great weekend, and hope you had a nice Thanksgiving holiday with your family and friends. Uh, I've had a list, and I don't know where it's at, but I've had a list of like videos uh, that I wanted to do. You know, like a lot of '70s series of the week stuff, and or '60s and '70s runs. But I cannot find that list to save my life. So if I don't find it soon, I'm probably just gonna go back and have to try to figure out some more stuff to do. But in the meantime, uh, I just thought I'd show some Silver Age books. I just pulled some stuff off the shelf. I know probably everybody's seen this stuff before. I don't know if you've seen me show it before. There might be a couple things that people haven't seen before, but just for the heck of it, I thought I'd pull something off the shelf in the meantime until I either find my list of other videos to do or try to think of what they were. Anyway, just some random, mostly Marvel and DC oriented. Might be, like I say, might be two or three things you haven't seen before. But this is one of my favorites. I think I showed the issue before this, like in the top 20 or 30 favorite comics. It ended up being closer to 30 for me that I was tagged in by Dr. Von Chilla. But this is Marvel Superheroes 13. Another nice square-bound book with, I'm sure this is a Gene Colan cover. But the first appearance of Carol Danvers, who later on went on to become the first Miss Marvel. But a really nice book. One of those nice little square-bound beauties that me and a lot of others enjoy, especially Dr. Silver Age. I know he's a big fan of the square-bound stuff like I am. Or just a nice little package. I mean, you got the Captain Marvel story, but you also got, I'm sure most of these are reprints, but you got the Submariner, Captain America, Human Torch, the Black Knight, and the Vision, which I'm probably sure that's it's been a while since I've read this, but probably a reprint of like the Golden Age Vision. But a nice book overall. Nice to have in the collection. Probably my second favorite character of all time behind Kamandi has to be Jay Garrick, the Golden Age Flash, Flashverse 2. And I always liked the Earth 1, Earth 2 crossovers, especially the JLA, JSA stuff. But this was always one of my favorite books, because they had like one of my favorite villains too. But this is Flash 137. Got the really nice Earth 1, Earth 2 Flash crossover. And got Vandal Savage as the villain. Really nice. I'm sure this is probably, looks like Carmine Infantino and Murphy Anderson. Real big fan of Murphy Anderson stuff. Excuse me. And extra little added bonus. Got a little date stamp on there. So that was pretty nice. Like I say, one of my favorite all-time characters in a nice book. And I know this was probably, at least in the Flash comic, this was probably like the third crossover because 123 was the first one. And then in 129, which is a couple books I would really need to get and want to have someday. But this is probably the third crossover in the book. Now, I'm not sure where the first JLA and JSA team-ups occurred time-wise in between these books. I'm not sure if they were after or kind of after the first crossover or two. But anyway, cool book. More Captain Marvel, first issue in his own title. Really nice cover on this one. It's got a couple issues here and there, but overall, really nice looking book. I really like the purple background, and although I love the later costume they gave to Marvel, I always kind of had a fondness for the early one too. So sorry about the glare. Like I say, the lighting in this in the man cave is kind of terrible. I'm sure you've seen me show this one before. Here's the Atom #1. It's pretty beat up shape, and I found this like in a $5 box a couple of years ago, and I knew it had to have like one of the covers missing or it was detached, and it didn't have a back cover. But for $5, I'll take that any day. I've probably got it in a reprint somewhere, but you gotta love that stuff. A lot of the Atom and Green Lanterns, that great early Gil Kane artwork that he did for DC. This is probably Gil Kane and maybe Sid Green on the inks. Not sure. But Here's a little oddity. A few of you may know my fondness for the monkeys, and this was actually published by DC Comics back around '67. Teen Beat #1, and I'm not sure if they wanted it to be associated with the monkeys that much or not, so they didn't put DC or National Comics on that side. You just got the little independent thing going on here, like Marvel used to do before they started putting Marvel Comics Group on their covers. But since I was a monkey fan, I actually I was going to a comic shop probably, oh man, probably 20 years ago, and you know, I had a pull file, and a guy said, well, if there's anything I can get for you back issue wise, let me know. And I said, well, if you find, I was really looking for some old issues of the Monkey series, but that Dell put out, and he didn't find any of those. But I was kind of telling me anything monkeys related, I'd like to get it. So this is a cool little book. It's mostly just pictures and articles, you know, but a nice little oddity, which I love. Classic Marvel cover, Kirby, Tales of Suspense, #58. Showcase #73. First appearance of Creeper, classic Ditko cover. I think this is probably one of the first major Silver Age purchases that I made. I can't talk. Really love the covers. This is what I would call a Captain Strangelove special with the red and the green and yellow Creeper, and I don't know, just love the purple background on this. And I'm sure everybody's no stranger to this book, Incredible Hulk 102. This is probably like a fine plus. This comes from Metropolis Comics. Yeah, it's actually still got the sticker on the back. I've never heard of a 6.8 grade, but there it is. Excuse me. But, a classic cover. Love the Hulk. Love the Silver to Bronze Age run of the Hulk. Another big shout out to my buddy Rod, Dr. Silver Age. I know he's a huge Hulk fan. I know he has this book. More Creeper. It's the first issue in his own title. More Ditko Sweetness. And this is probably my top 5 Silver Age books. This is I guess this is a Dr. Silver Age special here. You've got the Go-Go Checks, Showcase 61, that classic Specter cover. I love the Specter, the character. I love this run that had in Showcase and later on his own title. But I just, this is just one of those covers I just cannot stop marveling at, because, Murphy Anderson, and you got the Specter, and it seems like somebody's always trying to crack the earth over the Specter's head in the Silver Age stuff. I think in another one it was Wotan, maybe trying to crack the earth over his head. But a cool book, really nice shape. Probably a solid fine plus on this one. Some more Tales of Suspense. More Captain America and Iron Man, #59. Another classic Kirby cover. And can't have one of these without a Charlton, right? I think I got this one just last year. Got a really nice Pat Boyette cover. It's really nice shape too. But this Ghost of Dr. Graves, mini Ghost of Dr. Graves #1, with the good doctor himself on the cover. I think it's, Pat Boyette signed it at the bottom. But I love these Charlton books, man. This is one of my favorites. This is one of those ones that I would like to get the complete run of this one day. Probably got a pretty good start. I'm not really. I need to finish organizing my Charlton stuff. But really cool book. Great cover. This is probably a little oddity. I'm sure like some of us, at least old guys my age, you might have started out reading Archie or Harvey stuff, before you got into superheroes. Let me get a drink here. I'm getting kind of dry. But, I always read the Richie Rich and Casper stuff, and, I always loved that. But probably my favorite characters were like Sad Sack and Spooky and Hot Stuff, and I always loved Stumbo. And he was always like always like a backup feature in Hot Stuff. But I was, it was like a Gulliver's Travels type thing, But he finally made it to his own title. It just lasted 13 issues. And one of the things that attracted me to it too, even though I love the character, was like all 13 issues were square-bound issues. And you hardly ever see them for sale. And I might have maybe 4 or 5 of them of the 13-issue run. But here's Stumbo Tiny Town #1. One of my favorite comics. Like I say, you got the nice square-bound cover. A little blunted on this end, but the rest of it looks pretty nice. And you got some of the, you got Stumbo, and you got Hot Stuff in a story. Old Floodle, I guess he was the town constable. Minnie the Witch and Mr. Thatch, whoever that was. But, just some good little fun reading. Speaking of some more Harvey Square Bound, this is a Harvey thriller, Fighting American #1, Joe Simon and Jack Kirby. Excuse me, guys, I'm sorry. Got Kirby and Simon on the bottom. Adventures of the Battling Prince of Comicdom, most imitated of all. Featuring Speed Boy, and he's fighting Round Robin. But pretty cool book. Spine on this one's pretty nice. Nice little package. And speaking more square-bound stuff, here's my Silver Surfer #1. Probably in the VG range, VG minus. But I'll take it. Colors still look good. And speaking of Harvey stuff, here's my, it's a little beat up, it's a little ragged on the edges. Like I said, big fan of Spooky and Hot Stuff, and here's Spooky #1. A little chewed on the edges, otherwise presents pretty good. I'm not even sure if it's got a, yeah, it's kind of rolled over on the spine. I was trying to find where it said 10-cent cover price, but there we go. Strange Tales '97. The only thing wrong with this book, it's got somebody got some tape or something on, so there's a color break right in here. I love this cover. It's one of my favorite Jack Kirby covers. When a Planet Dies. And I'm sure a lot of you already know number 97 is like the, I guess the prototype first appearance of Uncle Ben and Aunt May. So you have that little story in the back. But I really wanted it just for this cover and this story because I'm, people know I'm a Kamandi fan and all that. I just love the post-apocalyptic stuff. So that was really the, the attraction of it for me. And I got this for a great price a few years ago. Couldn't believe it. Even with the color breaks here, where colors kind of peel off it, I really don't care. I'm just kind of happy to have the book. And speaking of Kamandi, this one is really chewed up, but I got it for a good price, and I was thrilled to have it. More stuff from Harvey. Alarming Tales #1, the Jack Kirby cover, and it has the prototype for Kamandi in this book. I think the story, it has like some talking animals, and it's kind of a post-apocalyptic thing, but I think the story's called The Last Enemy. It was really like the prototype for Kamandi later on. Now, Carmine Infantino says he invented that for Jack Kirby, but You know, this goes back. Kirby had a proposed strip that was going to be called, and I've seen the Xeroxes of the art, but was going to have a strip called Kamandi of the Caves. You know, and then, but I think he took that, and the only reason that I think they had Kamandi was because DC tried to get the rights to do the Planet of the Apes comic in the 70s, but Marvel beat them to it, or they outbid them or something. But you know, they from that came Kamandi, so it was kind of like a combination of this and their desire to have a Planet of the Apes type comic. But you know, even though it's beat up, I would like to get an upgrade copy of this one day. But the nice copies I've seen are kind of pricey. So I'm happy with this right now, but I would like to upgrade. Another classic cover. We have Silver Surfer #4. One of the classic, I guess, you know, classic covers of the Silver Age. You know, there's another Square-bound beauty. I was really happy to. I think about 4 years ago I picked this one up, and I've been looking for a copy of this forever, even more so than #1. And I think I ended up getting this. You know, this is probably a VG fine. You know, maybe a 5.0. Got a little split at the top, but I think I ended up getting this for like $60 or $70, which to me was a bargain. You know, even then. So, okay, last one. Again, one of my favorite books. The last video I showed my slipcase edition. Oh, let me start over. My deluxe hardcover slipcase edition of Crisis on Infinite Earths. One of my all-time favorite stories. And this is actually the origin of the Crisis, in a way. It's Green Lantern #40. You have the great Earth 1, Earth 2 crossover there. You have the Guardians of the Universe, and you have Corona. For those of you that read Crisis, you know what Corona had to do with that. But one of my favorite comics in my whole collection, just because I love the Earth 1, Earth 2 thing. Looks like another, that might be a Gil Kane cover, but just a great book. Got a lot of significance for me. Okay, guys, that's all I got for right now. Like I say, I'm going to try to find my list and prepare some more videos, but I've been trying to catch up with a few of my friends on here, and I've been trying to binge watch them one at a time, and that went okay, but you guys know who you are. But for those of you who I haven't frequented your channel in a while, I'm getting to you, don't worry. Kind of getting over the sickness here, so feeling a little bit better, and going to get caught up with everyone. But guys, thanks for sticking around and watching. As I always, appreciate all the comments. Always a great community. And I hope to see you soon. Onward and upward.